Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is in whatever part of the world you're at right now. Welcome back. And today we're gonna do another review lesson about proving triangles and their congruency. Okay, so I've already taken the liberty of filling out some of this information. So we're just gonna go over that, make sure we understand these acronyms, and really talk about what makes triangles congruent. So at the top here it says list the 5 methods to prove two triangles are congruent. Now the first one, SSS, is side, side, side. Okay, so all 3 sides can be congruent in 2 triangles, and that's how you would prove that. Then you could talk about the next one in yellow is side, angle, side. Okay, where you would have and these pretty much follow that order. Okay, a side congruent, then an angle congruent, then another side congruent. The third one in the middle, the purple one, angle, side, angle, which basically you see an angle, one angle congruent, then you have a side in between those, in between that angle and another angle that are both congruent. Next, we have in green, angle, angle, side. Okay, which basically you have 2 angles that are, or an angle that's congruent, and then another angle that's congruent, and then a side. Okay, and the last one is what we call hypotenuse leg, and this really only applies to right triangles. Okay, now when we're discussing the list of reasons why sides are congruent, there are 3 reasons that sides could be congruent. The first one is just the given information, and given information is basically congruent markings. Okay, or if they tell you the value of angles. The next reason that sides would be congruent is if we're discussing the definition of a midpoint. Okay, because definition of a midpoint, you have a segment that the midpoint is, or the midpoint of a segment, which means that the 2 resulting smaller segments are congruent. Now, the last reason why sides would be congruent are what we refer to as the reflexive property. And in parentheses there, I wrote down, you see written as shared side. That's basically when 2 triangles, you see one diagram and it's split into 2 triangles and they share a side. Now, for the angles, reasons why angles are congruent, once again, given information. Okay. Next, if you have vertical angles are congruent. Corresponding angles are congruent. Angle bisector splits 2 angles, splits one angle in half, and the 2 sub-angles that result from that split are both congruent. They're equal. Okay, they're each a half of the entire angle. And the last, alternate interior angles are also congruent. We're going to go through a few examples to figure out if and why these triangles are congruent. Side, 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 angle, side, angle, and so forth. At number 12, it says, first, the instructions say, determine if the triangles are congruent. If yes, state which method and write a congruency statement. So, taking a look at number 12, first thing I notice is that number 12, this diagram has vertical angles in it. Okay. So we have our vertical angles. Now, and our vertical angles are right here where the C is. Those are vertical angles. Now, what we need to do, we need to go ahead and label the parts where we have congruent marks or congruent markings. All right. So I'm going to use an A for angle and an S for side. So there's an angle congruent marking, a side congruent marking, then an angle congruent marking. And when I look at the second triangle, I have an angle congruent marking, a side congruent marking, and then an angle congruent marking. And just to make sure that another thing that I always suggest is to draw an angle in the direction that we made these markings, and we made the markings going that way in the first triangle, and then in the triangle to the right we actually made the markings going this way. Okay, now that's important when we have to write our congruency statement. So Are these triangles congruent? Yes, because of angle, side, angle. As a result, we should be able to write the congruency statement. And this is what a congruency statement is. Triangle ACB is congruent to triangle, and then I have to follow the order for the second one, ECD. Oops, that's not an E. ECD. So like I said, the arrows, I drew the arrows there to help us follow the order in which we're following the congruency for these markings, okay? Because the order matters. Order matters when you're writing a congruency statement. So number 13 is an example of given information, okay? So this is given information. There's no information that we need to, this is all directly given to us. We don't need to infer it, or it's not indirect, okay? So, and let me do something. Back on number 12, I really should have put 2 markings here for these congruent angles, because those are 2 different, those are 2 different angles from the other congruent markings. So, back to number 13. Like I said before, this is given information, and if we notice, we can just go around. I'm going to follow the markings in order. 1 side congruent, 2, and then 3. So I went in that order. So this is side. This is basically side, side, side. Now, and if we follow the order, you go in the order of the congruent markings. So for the triangle on the bottom, pretty much going that direction. And then the triangle that's on the top right here, pretty much going this direction. So, are these triangles congruent? Yes. And it would be side, side, side. Now, the congruency statement is triangle. If I'm talking about the one to the left, it's going to be RTS is congruent to triangle YXW. Okay? All right. And let's go ahead and move on to number 14. Number 14, we have here. Now, for this one, we have to, you're going to have to use you're going to have to be able to visualize, or you may need to draw, okay? Or highlight some things, use color pencils to kind of highlight what I'm about to show you. So we're going to be looking, you need to kind of visualize two parallel lines cut by a transversal. So our 2 parallel lines are right here. Okay. And here's the other parallel line. Now, the transversal is right here. Okay. Now the reason we're doing that is so we can highlight these 2 angles are congruent. Okay. Because they are corresponding angles. So this is a example of corresponding angles. Now, if we get rid of the parallel lines, if I kind of take that away now, we should be able to go ahead and also label it with our angles and our sides. So here we have a angle, we have another angle, and we have a side, because these 2 sides, are congruent. So once again, angle, and side. And the 2 sides that are congruent are right here. They're both 3 feet long. Okay, they're congruent. They're the same thing. Now, with that being said, and one other thing, let's make sure we get our direction correct. For the triangle to the left, we're going, oops, let me get that out of the way. We're going this direction here. And for the other triangle, we're doing the same thing. We're going this direction, okay? Kind of counterclockwise. So are they congruent? Yes. How? Angle, side, okay? And now we write our congruency statement. The triangle to the left is triangle JHG is congruent to triangle. Now the triangle to the right is KIH. Okay? Number 15. Number 15, here we have, this would be an example of reflexive property. Okay, and remember that reflexive property refers to a shared side. So the shared side here is this side. Okay, this is our shared side. All right. Now, our shared side, and I don't know if y'all can make out, but that's a R right here. Okay. Our shared side is LN. Okay. LN is congruent to LN. Now, they're equal. That's the reflexive property. Okay. We also have, these are also right triangles. Okay, so we could put a right angle box right there if we needed to. Now, because of this, also let's go ahead and label what we have. This is basically the hypotenuse, and the shared side is the leg right here. Okay, so what we have here is, first of all, are they congruent? Yes, because of hypotenuse, leg. And the two triangles are, the one on to the left is going to be triangle KLN is congruent to triangle MLN. That's it. Okay. 16 and 17 are gonna be the last for this part. We're gonna break this lesson into two parts. So 16 and 17 will conclude part 1, and then the second part will continue with 18 through 22. Okay. Just a heads up. All right. So number 17. Number 17 here for number 17. We can only just go off the given information for not number 17, but number 16. We can only go off the given information. All right. They don't share anything. The diagrams are not together. We don't have any vertical angles or anything. We just have markings. So if we label the markings, okay, we have side, side, angle, side, side, angle. Now, if we go back up to the top here to our listings, we have side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse leg. Sorry about that. Okay, so however, none of the options are side, side, angle, or angle, side, side. So with that being said, we don't have enough information to conclude that these are congruent. So we would say not congruent. Okay. All right. Number 17. Number 17, once again, is an example of the reflexive property. We have a shared side again. Reflexive property. And here's the shared side, which we'll call this time, it could be XZ or ZX. I'll go XZ. So the shared side, oops, doing this too far down. Shared side here is XZ is equal to XZ, okay? Now, because of that, then that means we need to put a congruent marking here. Then we can go ahead and label, we have a side, side, angle, side, and the same thing. Side, angle, side. Now, for the top triangle, we're kind of going this direction, and for the triangle on the bottom, we're going that direction. So when we label it, well, first we can answer it. Yes, they are congruent because of side, angle, side. And now we can go ahead and write our congruency statement. Triangle, I'm going to go for the one on the top. It's going to be WXZ is congruent to triangle YXZ. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will conclude part 1 of our review of proving triangles and their congruency. Okay? Come back for part 2, and I'll see you all in a little bit. Deuces.